Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Cars and Coffee with me, Kenny Brown. And if you're a car guy that really wants to know the real story about stuff, you're in the right place. Because over the next hour or so, I'm going to answer your questions, talk a little tech, and it's something new we started, a little trip down memory lane. But it's going to be kind of a cool episode today. What we're going to talk about is pedals. If you're building a race car, you need pedals. There's an old expression that, a good driver is a good pedaler. Well, we're going to be talking about pedals today. Also, people are saying we don't do enough about 550s, but we're going to talk a little about Margo, our sport touring package that we developed. And let's see, what else do we have? Shocks. Again, we'll talk about shocks with some people that haven't been with us before. We'll go through a little shock tech with our custom-built Strange shocks. And answer the questions we're going to answer come from the Speed Therapy Society. And if you're not a member, I strongly recommend that you join the society. It's got like an online car club. A lot of like-minded people. There's great posts, a lot of good people there. So if you're not a member, please join, because that's where all the good information happens. I'll talk about good information here in a minute.
Kenny Brown Speed Therapy Society Facebook group.
Okay, Kenny Brown Speed Therapy Society Facebook group. It's a private group, and you can join it through Kenny Brown Performance Facebook page. Okay, I needed a little help. I can't always remember these things. Okay, last week we kind of talked about great drivers, and we had some more come in that were mentions. Mario Andretti, everybody knows he's great. Schumacher, I mean, what can you say? I mean, how many time world champion he was? He just dominated. And then Ayrton Senna. I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to have ever seen Ayrton Senna race, but my God. The ones that stick out in my mind was in the race. I think it may have been in Sao Paulo, in the downpour rain. And basically, he passed everybody, just flew past everybody. He was on a mission. And then, of course, nobody can forget his qualifying at Monaco that one year. It's like he was not human, because what he did for qualifying at that point, people said couldn't be done. Anyway, then we also got Ken Miles. For us Ford guys, Ken Miles was the man when it comes to developing cars, the Cobras, the GT40s. He was, unfortunately, we lost him too soon. Scott Pruitt, another great driver. I worked with him for a couple races in this lean program, endurance racing. Amazing guy. He was pretty young back then. In '87, he came up to be an extra driver at Mosport for the 24-hour race. And he had commitments during the day on Saturday, and he flew in. He got there Saturday night, and he jumped in the car in the dark, in the rain, a car he'd never been in before. I think 4 or 5 laps, he was right on pace. It's a pretty amazing guy. And of course, my personal favorite, Jimmy Clark, my boyhood hero, fellow Scotsman. He was, if you don't know much about Jimmy Clark, look him up. He was an amazing driver. Unfortunately, another guy that, we lost too soon. But it's because of him I got into all this stuff, because I was at Watkins Glen for the U.S. Grand Prix the year that he won the U.S. Grand Prix, which was like, well, I was over the moon. So there's some other favorites. If you think some more, just go ahead and send them in. We'll talk about them next week. And then Brian West on the Smoky Unit thing. Brian West said that he was the best at rules interpretation. And I have to totally agree, because he was one of my inspirations. In racing, you're always trying to find the edge. I mean, everybody's going to win, and if you can find just a teeny bit edge, that gives you an edge. And he was really good at rules interpretation, and it's something that really stuck with me. The other thing, the other guy that was really indelled in my head on the rules interpretation was Pete Brock. The 510 Datsuns, back then they were Datsuns in Trans Am. And it's kind of interesting. They had a problem with not getting enough oil to the valve train. They were burning up valve train. And by the rules, they could not modify the engine to get more oil to the valve train. Solution: he took a copper wire or a copper tube, wound it a couple times off of out of the block, wound it a couple times, and put it into the cylinder head, right into the rocker, so it oil. And people said you can't do that. Well, he pulled out the rule book, and it said that you can have as many oil coolers as you want in any location. So his thing was, well, is the oil cooler after it goes into the engine here than it comes out there? So his overhead oiling was an oil cooler. So those two guys, kind of really kind of had an impact on me because I'm really, really good at doing the rules thing. Let's see. Okay, I already talked about the artwork, Jimmy Clark, and that's, if you can't see, that's one of his famous gloves tucked in there, which is pretty cool. A good friend of mine gave that to me a long time ago, and it's kind of like one of my treasured art pieces. Okay, I can't forget this. It's actually written down, so you can't forget the share thing. If you got some friends that think they can get some value of what we're going to talk about today, hit the share button. You can start a watch party. Also, the thumbs thing. We get thumbs up. It really helps us spread the word. On Facebook, you have to use the thumbs up on the episode, I was told. I think you do the same thing in YouTube. But, we like seeing those thumbs, and of course, little heart-shaped wrenches. So what do we want to jump into first? How about pedals? We talked about, and again, Larry Martin was gracious enough to let us use some of his pieces.
We didn't ask him about the pedals. We forgot to call him.
I guess we didn't ask him about it. The pedals came in, and then they got shipped here instead of him again. So we thought, this is a great opportunity to talk about, because he's getting the full Kenny Brown Pro 4R race brake setup front and rear, which if you're going racing, dollar for dollar, you cannot find a better race brake setup, period. Absolutely, period. I've talked about them before. I mean, it's a fabulous setup. So if you got race brake, he was having problems with his brakes before, so one of the Pro 4Rs, and it's like, I was talking to him, it's a race, it's gone beyond. I mean, this is like a super wide body Fox, all aluminum, 302 stroked out, and making tons of power. I mean, it's a serious car, man. If this is a race car, you need race brakes. That's why we decided to do the Pro 4R front and rear. You need race brakes. You need race pedals. Period. And this is what I use. This is the Chilton race brake pedal assembly. And first of all, I mean, you can just see this is a super high quality piece. I mean, this is serious race car stuff. And it has so many adjustments. Like you can see, well, first of all, these are like sandpaper on the pedals, but you can see there's a high low, so you can put the pedals up or down depending on what you want. And on the back side, if you can see this, there's 3 little holes. You can actually move the pedals sideways, so you can adjust the pedals to exactly how you want them as far as your feet. Now you're just going to say, wait a second, that brake pedal's sticking way up there. Well, what happens when you hit the brakes? All of a sudden, you're perfect for heel toe. And heel toe in racing is important. Track day, and I want people to focus on car placement, braking, and getting through the turn. But you hit the brakes, and you're right there. And also, this adjustable. I mean, these are adjustable down here. This is adjustable. Also, there's a stop right here. I can see, so you can't overstretch the throttle. And then tons of adjustments. You can go up and down with the throttle linkage, and you can see how many different holes there are, so you can get anything exactly how you want it. And this piece right here, I think this is the shuttle. And actually, it's threaded, and what it hooks up to in the car is a knob, okay? And this knob is where the driver can reach it, and just by turning the knob, you can move that shuttle back and forth, and that's your brake bias adjustment. You move it one way, it's going to have more rear brake. Another way, you got more front brake. So this is the cool thing about this is during a race, it's for serious racing. You can actually adjust your brake bias in the race. But certainly, at the beginning of the race, you're going to have a full tank of gas, weight at the back. As the race goes on, you're losing weight at the back, and if you got your brake balance perfect, and all of a sudden, you're not enough weight in the back, and your brakes are going to lock up, so then you can just keep dialing towards the front. So you still have balance on the brakes. So I mean, this is a real deal. This is what I use, just simply because it is super professional grade. This is the middle. This is 800 series, which is kind of like the middle of what they have. It's totally perfect for what we do. But also on the clutch, there's another one of these little see little adjusters, so you can't overextend on the clutch either. I mean, this is cool stuff. And we have it. This is our spec from Chilton. It's got the master cylinder specifically for the Pro 4R brakes. So that's pretty cool. And of course, we got the adjuster. And then here's the other cool part: is if you got brakes and you brake fluid, this is what we use. This is a triple reservoir, and you can see it's got already has -4 ends on it. So you got brake, clutch, and if we know what the length is you want to have from where you mount this, typically I want to mount this on the up on the dash somewhere on the passenger side, so I can see how much fluid's in there. And if it's on the passenger side up high, it's also easy to top up the brake fluid. But it's always, you always need to know just where you are, because it actually shows you got a minimum. When it gets down to this line, you need to add more brake fluid. So again, this is real deal. This is real race car stuff. So that's what I use, and that's what we spec out. Dave in California, he's got the same setup, and Larry's going to have the same setup. Well, here's the good news. Even though we forgot to ask Larry if we could use these, the good news, he's getting it all assembled. Everything comes in pieces. You have to put the whole thing together. So
assembly's free.
Yeah, assembly's free. And let's bring you to another subject. We get like real race car stuff for people sometimes, and their question is, where's the instructions? Okay, and I mean, race cars, you don't get instructions. You get the part, and then you figure out how to make it work. In this case, I should have brought it up here. In this case, what you get is the drawings, the mechanical drawings, and how everything goes together, and you just put it all together. So, real race car stuff doesn't have instructions. If you want instructions, get something that's a bolt-on for the street. Okay, we talked about some pedaling, pedal cars. Oh, I know something. The other week, we were showing the Phase 1 IRS package, the forward torque brace and the aluminum diff bushings, and just showed you a plain old rod because of the rod bearings. The rod ends didn't come in time. Well, these were on the bench, and I thought, well, I'll show you guys. This is how the rear steer kit looks. This is again high quality FK three-piece rod end Teflon lined. Any of the two-piece or cheap rod ends, everything we do is like professional grade quality. So that's what the inner point. We move the inner point down, take some of the roll steer out, and then the factory tie rod end goes on here. A note: if you've got an IRS and your outer tie rod end is bad, you cannot. The factory doesn't make them anymore. You can't get them. Come to us, because we talked one of our suppliers into making forged tie rod ends for the IRS cars. That's again memory lane. I had a call this week from, I think, was it Sean Carey?
Yeah, Sean Day.
Sean Day, inquiring about. He's kind of in this group of MN12s. That was the Thunderbird that had the IRS in it, and he was inquiring about like a body kit that we had on one of the cars in one of the magazines. And I tried to find information, but I couldn't. But anyway, I thought, hey, let's talk about Thunderbirds today. And this is going back the Wayback Machine. This is 1991. This is the famous short wheelbase Thunderbirds that we did. We took, I think, 9 inches out of the middle of the car behind the driver and put it 108-inch wheelbase, just like the Mustang. But what an amazing car to drive. I mean, it just handled like a dream. And this was in, this may have been, this was in Car and Driver. And another one I found, this is one of our supercharged Thunderbirds. And that's what Sean was inquiring about, our supercharged Thunderbirds. 96 and 97, and I got to go back and look, maybe 8 or 10 of these things. And what we had to do is nobody had a supercharger kit for the Thunderbirds. So what we did is we got the pieces from Vortec, and we actually machined all the parts for the supercharger on there. Just kind of like what we did for the Crown Vics. We had to like make pieces to supercharge them. So that's a little bit on the Wayback Machine. I think next week we might talk about the M69. We had somebody who's inquiring on M69, and that's, for those that don't know, that was my 2005 SEMA car, and it's a beautiful car. It's been in a lot of magazines. We took an 05, and it's got a body kit on it, a wide body that makes it look like a 69 Mustang. It's really, really cool. I'll show you next week. So that's kind of like some of the way back stuff. But I'm just kind of rifling through it. Oh, questions. If you got questions, please send them in. You can put them in a little column thing. Over here I can see some people: Larry, Roy, Tim, another Roy, James, another Tim. I'm not good enough to look at you, talk, and read the comments at the same time. I think that's going to take some more practice. But I'm getting better. At least I can see the names now. As you know, asthma just drives me nuts. Okay, I think we're going to, before we go into shock tech, I think we'll whip through some questions. Wendy's question was, we talked about radiators and cooling, saying how high, with the old style radiators and radiator cap, you can run the, we run the cars pretty hot because you make good power, run about 220, 225, but you have to have a high pressure cap. On these later model Mustangs with that goofy screw-on thing, if anybody finds a high pressure cap for the later cars, please let me know. We've been looking and can't find one. But anyway, her question was, if high water temperature, how does that affect the oil? Well, on a race car, if we're running like 220, 225 water, we have an external oil cooler. And at that point, I want to see the oil temperature between 230 and 250, 250 tops. And beyond that, if you start getting oil, if oil gets to 300 degrees, in some cases, bearings will delaminate at 300. So you don't want to get there. I just like it, the oil just a little bit warmer than the water. But for the cars that don't have high pressure caps, you need to be in that 200 range, 210 tops. So anyway, let's do another question. In fact, I forgot to answer this last week. Cliff, who has the Ford Racing FR500S, that one of the ones I engineered in the Mustang Challenge, another way back. Anyway, he is here. We're updating it from the 2008 FR500S spec, a 2011 World Challenge spec. And we're doing it in 2011. My suspensions were legal on the FR500S cars, but not the Boss cars. My son Paul, late son Paul, did some testing with suspension. He declared it was just totally amazing. It was really, really quick. But the SCCA, because it was so quick, would not let him run that on the Boss. But they made it legal for the FR500S to kind of give them a leg up, along with some Ford Racing updates, heads, cams, intake, throttle body, which we're doing all that. So it's going to be 2011 spec. Anyway, getting back to cooling, he had a question about, with all the extra stuff that we're doing, if he should go to the three pass radiator, triple pass radiator. And it's kind of like he run. Carrie, do you remember how high temperature he was running?
Yeah, 200 to 210.
He's running 200 to 210 with the stock 2008. Now we're adding, between the heads, intake, and cams, we're going to be adding horsepower. Horsepower means more BTUs. So will it create more heat? Of course, it's going to make a bigger bang. It's going to make more of a bang, and more bang means more heat. It's more BTUs that the radiator has to get rid of. It's kind of like a tricky question because it kind of falls in a gray area. He's got a pretty big. They came with a pretty big, thick aluminum radiator right from the factory. He's not seeing extensive overheating issues. So I mean, there's two ways to look at it. Number one is, I'm of the mind that don't fix it unless it's broke. So the one path would be, okay, let's go with what it is and see if it starts running hot. If it works, if it keeps the water temperature in that range, 210 range, then great. We'll just leave it at that. If it overheats, maybe that's the time to put in a triple pass radiator. The other thought is, okay, it's going to have more BTUs. He races some hot tracks. that putting in the triple pass just might be a good prophylactic for overheating. So he's sure the car's not going to overheat. So actually, there's two ways to look at it. I think Cliff and I probably have to have a little conversation on what he feels is going to be. Does he have to have it? No. Could he have it? It'd be nice, but it's kind of like it's in that little gray area. Now, if he had a stock rated, boom, throw the stock rated away. We put the triple pass in. He's good to go. So anyway, I need to talk to Cliff about that next week.
You have a meeting on Monday with him.
Oh, I have a meeting on Monday with him. So isn't that handy? Let's see. Oh, Margo. We should talk about Margo a little bit.
Guess what? Before you start talking about Margo, guess who's with us?
Who?
Kelly and her two sons, JJ and Jesse.
Hey, Kelly. Hi, JJ and Jesse. Kelly used to work for us a long time ago. Amazing guy. I mean, you talk about energy. She's like got way too much of it, but that's I mean, she's a really cool person. But anyway, she now is believe it or not, a heat packing FBI special agent. I never would have guessed. Anyway, she's got a 2019, is it, Carrie?
Yes.
2019 Mustang. And as you know, a lot of our people name their cars. Well, she named her car Margo. And we've been using it I developed two new spring packages for like sport touring and performance street / track. And then also we've got our track setup that we've had. So it's been kind of handy. This is going to be a sport touring car because she's got two young sons who actually just absolutely love driving in the back seat. When she gets on it, they love to go fast.
JJ and Jesse.
Yeah, JJ and Jesse. So we've got in fact we got some pictures coming up. But we've got the JRZ. I've come up with a special spring package for the JRZ single adjustables. Oh, there's Margo. And this is we just kind of pulled over the side of the road and took some quick pictures. So this really isn't professional grade. But a couple of unique things. I typically will change out the wheels and tires, but she really likes the factory wheels. So she likes the factory wheels. I checked in. It comes with like a 275 tire on the back, 255 in the front, which isn't enough tire. So what we did is we went to a 285 on the back, which is the biggest tire you can run, and then put the 275s on the front. So basically we went up one size in tires, front and rear. So we're putting more tire on the ground, plus retaining her factory wheels, which she really likes. It's going to get the vented rotors. And also, I may have told you that our previous supplier for rear diff kits for the 550 cars, they went out of business. So we've got a new supplier. And so what we need to do is we're actually going to, in the coming weeks, we're going to redo our rear diff cooler package for 550 cars. So we got a kit. And this time with our new supplier, Eric, who actually talked in the Speed Therapy Academy about plumbing, which was kind of cool. That was pretty informative, you guys. Anyway, we're going to make everything up so that the hoses are pre-cut. So you just, slam, bam, put it together. So that'll be coming up in the coming weeks. Right now, we've got a bunch of cars in here.
But you got shifter, exhaust.
Oh, exhaust, shifter. Okay, yeah, we had to do shifter. My God, I just can't stand driving the standard transmissions.
Subframe connectors.
Subframe connectors, new subframe connectors. So it's a really nice sport touring package, and just be perfect so you can take our kids and they can get. I guess they get as excited as being on a roller coaster, which is good. So the other thing we did is the thin blue line, and anybody that knows about that knows about that. So that's very cool. So that's Margo. You guys want the 550s? Yeah, we do 550s. Okay, moving down our list. This is actually for me, and I didn't know this was coming. I said, Kenny, friendly reminder, do you know what day this is? Gee, what day is it? I think it's the 23rd of January. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I know. It's Carrie's birthday. So you guys, you get a real treat. I'm spending my morning with you rather than Carrie's birthday. But guys are always forgetting their wife's birthday. I luck out, man. It's January 23rd. 1, 2, 3.
But are you going to tell him what you said yesterday? I thought you forgot. He continually forgets. So he's kind of Probably not tall
I really
enough,
screwed up yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought I missed it. I thought it was the 21st. I kind of got the 1, 2 mixed up instead of 2, 3. So anyway, 1, 2, 3. That's real easy for me to remember.
When you remember it.
I always remember, Carrie. Don't you know that? So, okay, we're moving down to questions. Be sure to send some questions in. I'll be happy to answer what I can. I'll get lots of people out there. Larry, Kobe, Calvin. Calvin, sorry, we took your picture down. Cliff, Steve, Brad. Christopher's coming to us live from Christopher is coming live to us from Bulgaria. He was one of our Speech Therapy Academy guys. He got up at 2 o'clock in the morning every morning when we had class to be in the academy. Speaking of the academy, we keep pushing it back because we've had from popular request from people. We've been super busy. Carrie has tons to do, and we've had people that wanted us to push it back a little bit, so that we're pushing it back to, is it?
It's April, and that's the final. We are doing.
Okay, April period. That's the end of it. We're not pushing it back anymore, but we have a number of people that just wanted to know if we could push it back, so we are pushing it back. So, speaking of special events, my new rear patented suspension. I want to introduce to you guys the actual finished production piece, which should be very soon. I introduced it to the Speed Therapy Academy people. I introduced them to one of the prototypes, but we've made significant improvements over the prototypes after 2 years of testing and developing, and it's an amazing piece. It just completely changes the rear suspension on the Mustang. It does things that we'll talk about them. Anyway, we're going to do that. The next introduction, we introduced it to the Speed Therapy Academy guys. The next introduction is the actual production piece. I'm going to say 2 weeks maybe. I think things are heading over to powder coat probably the first of the week. So and we'll have at least a production piece. Actually, by then we should have a piece on Chris's car should have one, and Cliff's car is getting one. That's the only piece on Cliff's car that's not part of the 2011 World Challenge spec for 500S Mustangs, but it's my 2021 spec for FR 500S. So anyway, yeah, we'll talk about that. Now, it's only going to be, this next introduction is only going to be for Speed Therapy Society people. And we won't do a general introduction until later in the spring to the general public. So if you want to see what's going on, we're going to have I think in the newsletter or Facebook something to be a way to register. It'll probably be on a Tuesday evening. So if you're interested, when the registration is open, please register. And it's pretty cool. And I'll talk more about it as we get closer. So that's okay. We're just kind of rifling through stuff. Let's do some questions.
Did you get through all the questions?
No.
Oh, okay.
I got stuck at Wendy. Christopher has a question. Because Kenny often talks about spring rates in the videos, but he always mentions only the front spring rates. And he also mentioned rear. Also, can we have a table similar to the alignment specs and spring rates for different generation cars? Starting from the last question, the answer is unfortunately no. And I'll go to the first question. The reason I talk about front spring rates is because the front of the car gets to the corner first, and you've got to get the car around the corners. That's always focus on front spring rates. Rear spring rates, I kind of use a formula in my head. I individually pick spring rates for the application, depending on what the front spring rate is. Depending on the horsepower, the tires, the suspension, factor in the rear spring rate. So I've got my own personal chart. It's more of a guide, but I do these one-on-one. And the reason I don't put a guide out because everyone's a little bit different, depending on the driver, the car, the tires, horsepower. It's like there is no absolute chart. I mean, they all come out of my head. Specific for the individual. And then Roy wants to know if the rear diffuser that we talked about before improves the effectiveness of a NASCAR type lip spoiler. Actually, the answer has to be yes, because what the rear diffuser does, as we talked about, as the air is coming out of the back of the car, it's kind of tumbling and doing all these kind of weird things. And what the diffuser does, it helps kind of smooth out the air coming underneath, which means if it's smoothing out the air underneath, then it's going to make any wing or rear lip spoiler be a little bit more effective. And Gary wants to know about helmets for a first-time track driver. Okay, you asked and we answer. Next week, we are going to have Ben from Impact on talk about safety, and they've got a new entry-level helmet. And he's also going to talk about the updates to helmets from 2015 to Snell 2020. So that's going to be, we're going to have a special guest next week. And so there's your answer. You asked, we replied. Did I get everybody's question? Roy, Wendy, Kobe. Kobe would like to know more about aero under the car. Okay, that's like too much information to pass along in Cars and Coffee. I will tell you, in the Speed Therapy Academy, I think we spent like two whole sessions just on aero. I pulled up a bunch of CDF computational fluid dynamics data and show people how air actually moves over, around, and through a car. So I mean, it's like it's a little too much to just say blah blah blah. I mean, there's a lot more to it. So I mean, if you want to learn more about this kind of stuff, I encourage you to sign up for the next academy. That's only one of the many things we talk about. And any of the guys that went through the last academy will kind of attest to, the value that they got out of it. So I can say that rear diffuser. When do you want to know the price of the diffuser? It is on our website. So just go to our website under S197. You'll see the diffuser is for 5 to 10. Now, something we discovered on Cliff's car. What Ford did is they put the California Special, the CS bumpers front and rear, and the rear had kind of like these fake little fins in the back. And so we actually had to modify that just to get a real diffuser on. So if you don't have a California Special 5 to 10, it's a really, really nice piece. Track day helmet, out of the car, Margo. I have a shocking development. I threw that in there. You run a little shock check. We talk about spring rates, and like I say, I picked the spring rate. The customer, I picked the front spring rate first, and then the rear spring rate is based off a number of different factors. Like I say, horsepower, tires, the sticky tires, street tires. So this is, whose shocks are these, Carrie?
You know whose shocks they are? Kenny Brown and Strange.
No, who are they for?
Oh.
You remember?
I'll think about it.
Anyway, these, I have a real thick book. Some of you have seen on shock dynos that I've collected over years and years and years. And I like, I have for race shocks, I have a certain type of valving that I like. For street/track shocks, I have a different type of valving. For F197, we're having a hard time coming up with what I want because I run like a lot higher spring rates than anybody else because you need spring in front of a Mustang to make it turn. So we were in Chicago, we went to Strange. I took my shock dynos. I talked to Dimitri, he's amazing, brilliant shock guy. And we went over sharks. I said, yeah, I can do that. So we actually have these custom built to my specifications. And the fronts we can only get in double adjustable. And the bump adjustment's on the bottom, as you can see. And rebound is on the top. And this is our shock package. Now these springs I chose, this is a 500-pound front. And when you get the shocks from me, they're completely assembled. And this one has, because SN95, it has our Caster Plus camber plates. Caster Plus because we eliminate the caster adjustment on the plate and just put maximum caster in. You just can't put enough caster in a late model Mustang. So by doing that, we've got more caster by taking the adjustability out. So we found a little saying, more caster, less bucks. It's a really nice piece. It's got urethane, so it doesn't have a rod in the rattle. A little tip on these with the urethane in there when you tighten the. It comes from Strange with like a lock nut, and I don't like those. So we go to jam nuts like we do in the JRZs. But when you do it, you just want to get this to the point of snug. A lot of people just crank it down and squish it. And that's no good. You just want to get to the point of snug, and then you lock it down with a jam nut. And then you can see it's got the adjustability. But the spring package is made up of three distinct components. On the bottom, we have our TRB torsion release bearing. And that's just a bunch of needle bearings between two very thin washers. And the purpose of that is as the spring shock will go up and down, the spring will do these little dancing things, and that it kind of releases some of that the tension. But the other thing is it makes it really easy to adjust the shock because you don't have spring on metal, you've got spring on bearing, so it makes it a lot easier to adjust right height up and down. Now on the back, for this customer, this is a double adjustable. Most of them are single adjustable. And the spring rate I chose on the back, where are you? I turn this way, is a 550, which means this is an IRS car. And some interesting things that we do. Now these are compressed. Because they're not gas, they're just the twin tube. We compress them all the way down, so they're really short for packaging. This will actually be a lot longer in the car. The other thing I do, because this goes into the car, has an OE type mount, and now we got all spring and shock load in through the top of this. So this right here is Delrin. We put a Delrin bushing in there, so it's solid, and then really hard rubber on top. So it's a pretty solid mount. This is for IRS. We also have single and double adjustables for live axle cars, which the spring rate would be considerably less. Another couple things when you get handy dandy spanner to adjust the ride height. But I think what makes it really special is by this little booklet from Strange. It shows you how to adjust it, and I put a special note in there that they're compressed. But the thing I include is a shock setup sheet. It's got all the information, the shock, the springs, and what my initial adjustment is. I always send them out with a base adjustment, and then there's some information on the bottom on tuning, and then there's a second page with more information. So yeah, that's just part of the package. And so that all goes in there. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without, I get to them, stickers. So anyway, that's our SN95 Fox coilover package. And like I say, I'll pick the package now. 500, 550. This is probably street some track setup. Probably a little, if it's more, let's say 60, 70% track in the other street. So that's kind of like I say, I pick the spring rates on the spot based on a bunch of different things. I think I am all the way through. And next week we have it's going to be interesting. We're going to have some JRZs to show you, and that's simply because it's for Paul Dondero. Mm-hmm. Paul Dondero, who has a V6 Mustang, that might even have him talk to us. Yep. He put my Kenny Brown suspension on his V6, and it's like magically he was now running with the V8 guys, and they couldn't believe it. So it's there's speeds in the chassis.
Yeah, he's got all Kenny Brown stuff.
All Kenny Brown stuff, and he's going to be getting the JRZs, single adjustables, and the new rear suspension. So he's going to be faster. His V6 is going to be faster than the V8 guys. You wait and see. So I think we're ready for some questions. Give me a chance. I hardly had drank any coffee.
You've been a busy boy. Okay, just some brief things regarding favorite drivers. Kobe said that he thanks Carroll Shelby just because of what he's done for the industry. Really
okay, I'll go along with that. I mean, it's more of what he's done than his actual driving. Yeah, I'll go along with that.
And Riley Reagan also agrees with Ken Miles. Great. Also, Dave Robinson from Niagara on the Canada side said he watched Senna at the British F3 Championship. So
wow, okay. You got to be as old as me then. Senna was, I mean, he was on a different cloud when it came to, like, if you ever watch him race in the rain, it's like, it didn't matter if it was raining or not. He would just go like crazy and pass everybody. And like I say, that one qualifying thing at Monaco was like, he was more than human.
And Cliff also says Bob Bondurant should be added to that.
Oh yeah,
list.
Bob Bondurant. I mean, he goes back to GT40s and Cobras and all those days.
Okay.
Actually, I know Bob. He's kind of a cool guy.
Okay, and James Dunas is actually working and has earbuds in listening to the show. Yay.
Go James. James is working with earbuds, so nobody can tell he's listening to the show. Good for you. Well, I'll give you a thumbs up.
Okay, we have, this is a little difficult for me to read some of these questions because of how they're set up. Okay, Roy Wallace has another question. He says, is there an kit to install the pedals in a 2000 Mustang?
Race car stuff comes as race car stuff. This is the kit. I mean, it comes in pieces. You have to assemble it. The thing is, you mount it to the floor wherever you want it, and then you make your adjustment from there. It could be used for any kind of brakes. We just have to make sure we've got the right master cylinder set up for it. But I mean, there's no real kit. I mean, you get the parts. You get like a whole bunch of boxes. You get a big box, a whole bunch of little boxes, and you put it all together and you mount it on the floor. You put your fittings on you put your dash and fittings on the master cylinders, and dash 4 for feed, and then probably dash 6 for your brakes, and then you just kind of put it all together. That's the race car stuff is like you get it and you make it work. And the reason for that is when it comes to car build race cars, everybody's different. Everybody does things differently. Everybody likes different things. So the suppliers for race parts give you the parts, and then you figure out how to put it in. I mean, it's not really tough. You just mount it to the floor, and it's a matter of plumbing. So if you needed some help with that, I mean, I'm always here.
Steve Hansford said, just wondering if I should use more shock than spring rate or more spring than shock rate. Thanks, Katie.
Oh, not enough information. More what? Say again, more.
If you should use more shock than spring rate or more spring than shock rate. It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question, but without knowing the application, it's kind of vague. I'll tell you one little thing. If you're running like a double adjustable shock and you've got your bump adjustment, your compression is halfway. If on the sweep, if you got like 10 clicks, and if you got and you're at like 5 clicks or 6 clicks, then you don't have enough spring. You need to put more spring in the car. I personally go to springs first, and then use the shock to control the spring. If you're using shocks first, if you're adding more shock in the spring, then you're asking the shock to do the spring's job. So I guess, talking my way through this, it's the spring first and then the shock. Because once you get the spring rate, then you need the shock that can control the rebound, the decompression of the spring. So.
Okay, this one I don't think you're going to be able to answer. Tim Allen, this is going back to the T-Birds. He's, first of all, one of his comments, I remember driving a supercharged way back in the day and thinking they could lose some length, not too big inside as they appear though. And then he says, my friend's dad was an engineer for Ford. He had a black T-Bird. What was the first year? Do you remember? I can't quite place at 89. Remember what year? And maybe somebody in the audience
Well,
knows.
the original T-Birds were were on a Fox platform. And when I was running the Celine program, I had a really close association with the guys in the Fox group. And they were located in the X Garage up in Dearborn. And that was Mustang, T-Bird, and Lincoln Mark 7 maybe back then. I'd have to check and see what the first question was, or first year was for that. And then they went to the MN12, or they went to it was bigger, it's heavier. and it was IRS in the back and better suspension in the front. So it was like a big change from the live axle Fox. I think a little story. I like I say, I knew all the guys in the T-Bird group, and Jim Kennedy ran it, and then Art was kind of my connection. They actually tell you how far ahead these guys were thinking. They actually put a complete T-Bird chassis unibody together with only, I'll say glue for better purposes, with bonding material. And it was absolutely as rigid and as anything else. So that tells you how far ahead those guys were thinking. Of course, management thought it was too expensive in the trash bin.
Okay, and then we have Herstopher has a question. How important is roll center correction and bump steer kit for lowered S550s?
For 550s, it's not as important because they got a lot better suspension to start with. So far, I haven't, in the ones that we've driven, I haven't, because we've got so many other things on the table, that I haven't really done a full geometry analysis for two reasons. One, they work great. Just work right out of the box. Secondly, anything, because of the way the cars are set up, any changes, any geometry changes would be big changes. And I'd have to do, it's a lot of engineering, a lot of investment. So the fact that they work so good straight away, I haven't really put that much time into it. And from driving them, they drive so well. And we don't lower them that much. I haven't found the need yet. If we went racing with one, then I have to sit down and do all the geometry stuff and figure out what we need to do. But there's nothing wrong with bringing the roll center up on a lower car. I mean, if you can do it, I just haven't done any of our cars because we haven't really found the need for it yet.
And then we have a question from Bill Burton, and this is from actually Bridges Watch Party.
Oh,
so
cool.
People are doing watch parties. What's the biggest tire I can put on my S197 with an 18 by 8 inch rim?
Oh, 18 by 8, you're pretty restricted. You're probably looking at 255, 265. I know the perfect rim size for 275 is 9.5. That's pretty tiny. Here's what you do. You go on Tire Rack site and you put in the size tire that you have, and it'll give you a bunch of different manufacturers. So you go to one of them and you click on specs, and it'll give you the specs for the tire that you've got and the different wheel widths it'll go on. Then you look down and you go down, you find your tire, you go down all the different sizes, and you'll find your tire, and then you look at the rim size, and then you'll go down until you run out of the last tire that you can run on an 8-inch rim, and that's it. Anything beyond that, then you kind of bow in the tire. But 8 inches is really tough.
And then Wendy has a question. Do you have any actual install pictures of that diffuser?
We will. Yeah. I mean, we will shortly, but not right this second.
And then I find this humorous. You spoke to him, Michael Gabreth. His name is American Idol, IDLE. That's pretty clever. We like that, Michael. You had a 15-minute with Michael a while back. Let's see.
Oh yeah, remember 15 minutes. Sign up. You got a question that we can't get in here. It's a little more complicated. Sign up for one of my 15-minute consults. And, I'll try to, if I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I'll just tell you, I don't know the answer. If I can find the answer out, I'll try to find the answer. I talked to one guy last week. I can't remember. He has a V6 with seated cold air and headers and stuff, and he's looking for a tune. I didn't have the answer. However, I talked to Tony the tuner, and he's supposed to be getting back to me with a tune. So, if I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. If I don't know, I'm just going to tell you I don't know the answer. My brain doesn't work for BS. It's like engineering, sort of black and white, team bit of gray in there. But I'm not very good at BS. That's why I'm not a really good salesman.
Okay, Jeff Lucina. How long have you guys been working with Strange Engineering? This is Jeff Lucina.
Hi, Jeff. We know Jeff. Jeff used to be part of the car guys. He worked for
Track guys.
Track guys,
Mhm.
the track guys, which do track events. We did a really big one down in Sebring with them. Had a great time.
And they also did the 25th anniversary.
Oh yeah, they
course, too.
also were the guys at the organizations did 25th anniversary when we did that at Putnam.
Yeah.
So what was his question? The first year of
How long have you guys been working with Strange Engineering?
2011. Because we moved to Chicago, we did the deal in 2010. Moved to Chicago to the beginning of 2011. So as soon as we're up there, I struck a deal.
Okay, and Rory asked, any movement forward on the SVO project?
SVO.
Michael's SVO project.
Oh
I think
no.
I think that's what it is.
I think it. We haven't heard a thing. I'm guessing it's sort of evaporated. I mean, I would have loved to do that car, and I just think that would be. I like those cars when they first came out. I was one of the few people that really liked them. Because actually, that was in like '86. I was working with back then it was SVO, Michael Kranopis, and those guys. And I just thought that was the coolest car ever. And it had so much potential. Yeah, I'd love to really get one and really make it work.
Here's a couple more drivers, and these are worth. There's so many good drivers out there.
Yeah.
Kyle Wagner says that obviously it's a different generation, but he really thinks Sterling Moss also deserves more love.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Another great guy. What about Fangio? If you're going to go back that far.
And Phil Hill.
Phil Hill, and his son Damon Hill, world champion.
Okay. Driving in one thing, but communicating. Okay, here. Driving is one thing, but communicating to the crew chief is another. Who does Kenny think was the best engineer behind the wheel?
Mark Donahue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's an easy.
How about somebody that you worked for? That drove for you?
Hands down had to be Paul.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. Out of all the drivers,
he was not only an amazing driver, he was a fabulous communicator. I mean, it was just talking back and forth with him on stuff. It was like the information I got from him was so accurate and so to the point. It made it so easy to give him answers to his questions. But aside from that, the next one I think would be Pete Halsmer was really good at getting information and conveying information.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you think it was mainly because environment, or do you think he?
No, he had his genes.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, because probably a combination of the two, working with you but yeah, he was good. Now I'm off my. Gilles Villeneuve too, Forest Connect.
Oh yeah, no, Gilles Villeneuve. We've gone through our stuff. I have a packet this big of press from Gilles Villeneuve when he raced at Formula Atlantic in Canada. And it's like, I got it from the guys in Canada I worked with a long time ago, and I forgot I had it. Yeah, it's about that thick. It's all the press clippings from Gilles Villeneuve. So I'll bring that in to show you.
Okay, and then we have another question from Angie Parrish. And she says this is a little off topic. Angie, nothing's off topic.
Yeah.
So, but she says, I know you made some awesome mods to the Mercury Marauders. I'm wondering, would it be possible to do something similar to a Grand Marquis or Crown Vic? Any suggestions for suspension brakes for those? Thanks. I have 2 Mustangs I race, and I love your tips and products.
Okay. We did, before the Marauders, we did Crown Vics. And we did Crown Vics based off of the Car and Driver came to me, and we got to go back and check the year. With Car and Driver car, but they wanted to do a cop-like car, something that looked like a cop car, but was really a performance car underneath. So we got a Crown Vic, and they took care of getting like cop stuff put on it, like the bumper in the front and the light on the A pillar and all the cop-like looking stuff, and I did the rest. We did chassis, 5 elements of my secrets of my cool cars: chassis, suspension, wheel stars, brakes. We did all that. We supercharged up through 2003 is when the Marauders came out. So up through 2002, we had a supercharged package for both Crown Vics and Grand Marquis, and we did a bunch of them. We did a whole bunch of them. It was our own package, and we did brakes, we did wheel upgrade, tire upgrade, suspension upgrade. In 2003, when the Marauder came out, interest in Crown Vics kind of like went away, and it was all Marauder. So yeah, we did. We actually developed this for the 0304 Marauders. We worked with Bear, and we developed a special brake package just for the Marauders, because it was kind of tough on the earlier ones, Crown Vics. There was enough room in the wheels. We put Brembo 4-piston caliper in there. We did our own package for Brembo brakes. But when the new one came out with a new aluminum front suspension, the track got really wide. And because of that, there was like super positive offset in the wheels, almost like a front wheel drive car. And there was just no room, absolutely no room for a 4-piston caliper. So I worked with Bear, and we came up with just like a great big, huge 2-piston caliper and 2-piece slided rotors. So that brake package for 2003 and newer Crown Vics is available. For the other ones, we don't have much. But yeah, you can set up a 15-minute. I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, and then we have another, just a brief, this is on short wheelbase Thunderbirds. Jeff Lucina says he remembers Rich LaBarber, and his short wheelbase T-Bird was his instructor at several car guy events back in the day. He said it was a fun car.
Yeah, I'm glad, I forgot Rich LaBarber. Yeah, he was from the East Coast. And that actually, here's another good story. We were doing a thing for Car and Driver, and on one of their high speed runs, it was supercharged V6, and the base one, and we didn't do a lot to the engine.
You're talking about the Thunderbird,
Thunderbird short wheelbase. This one right here. Okay, they blew a head gasket, which back then was pretty common for the Thunderbirds. But seeing as they were in Ann Arbor, and Dearborn is just a stone's throw away, as soon as I found out, I went over to the X garage and said, "Hey, Art, we got a problem." And so, of course, they had all the updated stuff right there. Different head gaskets, different head bolts. Like, here you go. So we rebuilt it overnight and sent it back, and it ran like a top.
That's
Yeah, cool. and then I said, I can't remember. Somebody drove with me from Detroit down to Mid-Ohio. Was that Rob Kinnaman, maybe?
Jerry Pitt.
Jerry Pitt, that's who it was. Jerry Pitt drove with me from Detroit down to Mid-Ohio.
Okay, another question from Kobe Ward. What is the difference between your street performance coil kit and your street track coilover kit? What do you get for an extra $400? I'm assuming he's talking about the Strange. There's a $400 difference between the street track and the street performance. That's a double adjustable, single adjustable. Oh,
and I'm trying to think, because basically on all the shocks, the difference is just spring rate, but that doesn't change the price.
No, but the street
we have the street performance package,
which is single adjustable.
Which the street performance is non-adjustable.
I'm assuming it's a $400 difference. I'm assuming he's talking about the. Kobe, why don't you say what car you're talking about? Yeah. What era? I'm assuming he's talking about the Strange with an SM95. Let's go to another question. Let's see. Dan Granza. Oh, Dan mentions that there's a group. No, I lost it again. If you guys saw what I was doing, it's really difficult here. The HR kit. Okay, H&R kit. That's what Kobe Ward's talking about.
Okay, yeah, the H&R kit is street performance. It's got around a 400-pound front spring. It's non-adjustable, which makes it perfect. It's great for the street, great for the track. The next level up, you're getting into adjustable shocks, and that's what the difference in price is. And then that's got to be in the S197s, and then we've got another. We've got kind of something in between the street performance and GRZs. It's a really great package. It's got a 630 front monotube gas shock. That's single adjustable front. Rears are non-adjustable. I mean, that's a great package too. We put a lot of those on street track cars.
Dan Grams, I believe, who is from Wisconsin, yay, Says the SEC Milwaukee Regional Charity Event Drive will be at Road America on May 21st of this year. Would be great if you're available to come up for the event. I think this all depends on.
Yeah, I mean,
on
it
COVID.
depends on obviously the COVID thing plus what we've got going on. I mean, I'm just a bit busier than the proverbial one-legged paper hanger,
Hey Dan, why don't you
one-arm paper hanger.
send me some information on that, please?
Yeah, send some information. We can put it on
Yeah.
in speed.
That's
in society.
Yeah, info@kennybrown.com. Okay, and I think we might, let me see. I think that's it. If I miss anybody's, just let me know.
Okay, this is the last call for questions.
You need to flicker the lights up.
She's
Okay.
looking. You were looking at your phone for a reason. Or?
Yeah, because I get my special matches who has questions.
Oh, so I think we've answered all the questions today.
Yep.
Okay, well, appreciate you guys coming.
Next week.
And next week we're going to have Ben talking about from Impact, talking about safety helmets and Hans type devices, and the difference between Snell 15 and Snell 20.
That's 20 and 25 now.
20 and 25. I guess I should have read. We're going to have a show and tell with the JRZs and talk about a V6 that chases down Mustangs on track. What else are we going to do next week? I think we're going to talk about M69. That's a good one. This is one of the beautiful cars I ever built. Stupid expensive, but beautiful. And I think that's, around that stuff to talk about. And we're on time.
Yeah, we're on time.
Whoa, I can't believe it. Okay, well, with that, I'm glad everybody could join us. If you got more questions that I haven't been able to answer or a little more complex, sign up for 15-minute. And then, we get you scheduled and I'll talk with you a little one-on-one, which is a lot easier than, trying to get a lot of information in a short little bit of time. I get big information when I do that. So with that, everybody have a good weekend. It's like really, really cold here, at least for Indiana. I'm sure in Minnesota, it'd be balmy. In Florida, it'd be Arctic. But anyway, everybody have a good rest of the weekend.